Okay guys, so in the last video, we have like a loose idea of what a print statement is and how to display text or have the computer spit out whatever you want it to onto the console. But now, let's talk about some other stuff. First, how could I get my computer to ignore what I put in this line? So let's say I want to tell myself for later, because what programmers do is they work together a lot. So chances are, if you go into programming, there's going to be someone else looking at your code. And from time to time, they're not going to understand exactly what you've written in your code. So you decide to write like, hey, the line of code underneath prints out my name. And then you can see this red squiggly line, and you're like, okay. So you ignore it and you run it. Now you have a syntax error called invalid syntax. Now, a syntax error is basically when your computer doesn't understand what you're writing. This usually happens because of how rigid computers are. They can't understand context like humans do. Like, you could be talking to someone very sarcastically, and chances are they would understand you because they're human and they can understand other humans sometimes. And computers aren't like that. They need you to be explicit with them. They need you to format everything in a way that they would understand it. It doesn't matter if it's less convenient for you. They need to understand what you write in order for you to run it. Now, you can also see that because there is an error here, it doesn't print out the message under here. And that basically means that right now, your program can't do much because it needs debugging. Debugging is this concept of taking errors out of your code. Legend says that the term debugging first originated in one of these early huge computers that could take up an entire room when a literal bug flew inside the computer, and the person operating the computer had to find a way to remove it. Debugging. And now we call these little things errors or bugs. And what we do in taking them out of our code is called debugging. Now, this error can be fixed pretty easily because errors can be fixed when you look at your code and really think, what am I trying to do with it? And what does the computer think I'm trying to do with it? So the computer thinks that I'm writing out a different line of code, like something like print something. I don't know what it just thinks that this is a line of code for our program, when in reality, we just want this to be a message to any other programmer or developer reading our code. So, what we do is we put this little pound symbol, hash mark. On my keyboard, I use a Mac, it's Shift 3. And what it does is it turns this entire line of code green. Weird, huh? But let's try running it now. It works. This is because this little pound symbol on the side here, what it does is that it creates a comment. A comment is basically a way for you to write whatever the hell you want into the code. the computer doesn't need to understand what you write. So it can literally be like a really badly written print statement, like print hello universe, and it would still run. Because what the computer does to these little green lines of code, to these green lines in your program, is that it just flat out ignores them. It doesn't even go over them, it doesn't check the content. All it does is that it skips all of these lines and goes to the next line that it can find actual code in, which happens to be line 4, where we print, "My name is Prosy." So now you can write a comment and make your fellow developers' lives just a little bit easier.